Reddit is one of the most popular websites on the internet. It's got a huge user base, and it aggregates content from all over the internet into one easily accessible platform. If you're not familiar with Reddit, it's organized into what are called subreddits. These are communities that are built up around an individual topic. So anything from music and movies to photography to news and politics, even UFOs. One subreddit that I spend a lot of time in is called UFOB. It's a great community of people just like you and me who are interested in UFOs, UAPs, non-human intelligence, and the whole amazing conversation that's going on right now about disclosure. This week, I sat down with one of the moderators for UFOB, who goes by the screen name Pics or It Didn't Happen. We had a great conversation, and I learned a lot about what it takes for these moderators to keep the conversation healthy and thriving.
You got to understand, Reddit's probably the biggest repository of information on UFOs on the internet, which makes it on the planet, right? I can't think of another site where there's more information pumping in daily. And I'm in the middle of it, so I see it all. And I've been seeing it for years. And we're growing pretty quickly. In fact, our engagement on UFOB is higher than all the other subs. And I think it's because of the way that we do things and the conversations that we have.
Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything, and it only takes a second, and it really helps me out. Thanks for watching. Now enjoy the interview. How do you come into the UFO topic? How do you come into Reddit as a mod and take this on as a second sort of unpaid job that you do on top of everything else that you do? What's your background and how'd you get into it?
So I was, I've had my own experiences. I've had a few sightings, and I've had some family members that have had sightings, and it's always been a topic in my family growing up. And then as an adult, I just delved deeper into it. I mean, I've been looking at this stuff since I was a little kid, but I just went deeper into it. And then Reddit was always just the place to get the real information. I mean, even when I look for a review on something I want to buy or learn about, I type in Reddit after the search term, like Reddit review or whatever. And because you always just get real information from real people. And then I was on here for quite a while. I was active. I used to post a lot. And then a moderator from another sub reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to help out? I've seen your posts. They look good. And, it sounds like you know the topic well." And I said, yeah, I'm be interested. So I did that. There are two founders of that sub had a falling out, and it got pretty ugly. And when everything was said and done, some very harsh words were said, and I agreed with the other founder the most, and we decided to start another subreddit called UFOB. And a handful of the moderators from that prior subreddit came over, and we started that. So we had a core group of founders, and we're still there today. We run it. We don't bring in a lot of new moderators, and especially not at the founder level because of the things that happened at that other one. It was essentially almost a coup. It was a coup. It got taken over by the other guy, and everybody was ousted, and it was pretty ugly. It was bad. But to make sure that it didn't happen, power was distributed amongst the different moderators, the founders, and we have a Discord, we've got a Twitter, we've got a YouTube, we've got Reddit. We might be on another platform, I forget, but we all are in control of each one of those. I set up and created the Discord. I have full control over it. Remsi is our top moderator over here on Reddit. Nobody can supersede him. He was the founder of that prior sub. So it was just natural to put him on this one. And so everybody kind of took on their own tasks of doing what they do. Group of the guys got together and started creating content for the YouTube channel. And it's highly curated. I mean, these guys are advanced researchers on the topic. We've all been at this pretty much for a lifetime. So we know what stuff to get into that's going to be interesting or that's piqued our interest over the years. So that's how that started. And then we saw what was going on with the other subs. The big ones, you got Our UFOs is the biggest one. It's like 2.2 million. Our Aliens, which is about, I think we're right at 1 million, maybe 800,000. I say we because I also moderate over there as well. I got into that later on, and they're a great team as well. And then anyway, we got in. We saw what was going on with those, and it's a cesspool. You get in, you start talking, you post something, and they just walk by, and I always give the campfire story. It's like some guys, some friends are hanging out at a campfire. You're having beers, you're shooting the shit. Maybe you're talking about cars. So imagine you're talking about cars and some guy walks by and it's like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome. You're like, oh yeah, yeah. Like I got one of those too. Cool. And another guy walks by and is like, fuck you guys, you're moron. And that's how Reddit is. And it's insanity. And so then it just blows everything off the rails. And if you look at all the posts, every conversation just goes in a circle. It's just a giant circle. So we decided that no more of the arguing about are UFOs real, are aliens real, is a topic real, is it worth talking about? All that's done. We're here to talk about it, and we want the discussion to go further. So our motto is we are convinced, not believe, because believe is not, there's a whole definition thing that goes on with that. And it's an interesting concept, but we are convinced that there is a non-human intelligence. Could be aliens, could be something else. We don't know. It could be interdimensional, but we're convinced that it exists and we want to talk about it. And so that's how the sub came about, and that's why it's strict. Now, when I moderate over at Our Aliens, it's general standard rules. People can talk, people can say dumb shit. You can talk about all kinds of stuff under the sun. You can mouth off a little bit. But in UFOB, we've got some advanced researchers, advanced followers, people having more advanced, deeper conversations. And advanced whether you want to talk about the woo-woo stuff or you want to talk about the UAP scientific stuff. To me, I don't care. And our moderator base is split actually on that stuff, but we all are aware that let the people talk about it. So you'll see people get banned in there quickly. And they're like, oh, this is an echo chamber. It's like, no, it's not, dude. You walked in and just called everybody a bunch of morons, or you spouted off on somebody. And 9 times out of 10, if they get banned and they come back in and they're like, hey man, you know what? I just looked at the rules. I didn't realize that's how it was here. I'm like, all right, man, you get another shot, So I'm lenient with that. It's it's crazy. It's crazy. That's all I can say.
It is definitely crazy. And I think it's so important to have a safe space to have real talk about this. And I love that you start from a place of this is real. Whatever this is, it's real. And we need to start there because that's where we're at. I think it's like, it's just where we are.
I've seen stuff with my own eyes. My family members have seen stuff with their own eyes. I come from a well-educated family. My parents are brilliant. I grew up around airplanes. My dad is an avid pilot for fun and grew up around airports, went to air shows. Point in saying that is I've seen every freaking thing in the sky that can fly. I grew up 2 miles from the Space Center. I used to watch the Space Center go up. I saw the weird experimental jets that they would fly. I've seen all the weird shit in the sky that you can see. So when I saw what I saw and I couldn't explain it, I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. And then come to find out that I had family members that have been seeing things their whole lives. And I was like, so then, you start delving into the deeper stuff of this topic of experiencers or abductions and things like that. And that's a spooky topic, but I think that gets pushed under the table a lot. And the thing is that even if you take it with a grain of salt, you've got people from different lifetimes, generations, different languages, different places on the planet that have never met or were not even alive at the same time. And they're all telling the same story, same exact story. They're seeing the same things, whether it's 25 of the same things, different ones, they're seeing the same things, and it's an abundance. So it's worth talking about.
Gary Nolan even talked about in an interview, and I have the clip. If I can pull it up when I do the edit, I'll drop it into this. But he talks about an encounter he had when he was a kid. Have you seen this?
I've watched it. Yeah.
Well, it was at a house that my parents had first bought when after we moved here to the States. You can remember 35 Craigs Road, Windsor, Connecticut. You can look it up. I looked it up actually a few weeks ago and on Google, and it's still there. And it was basically little guys in the bedroom. And I remember calling out to my brother and saying, is that you? And then I didn't understand how it could be like 2 or 3 of him. And then faces in the window and things like that. And I mean, other than just memories of them being in the room and being a little scared, and then I guess falling asleep, there really was nothing at that time. It was interesting. It wasn't until actually almost 30 years later that I found out from my brother that he had also seen things. And so that was quite a synchronicity, eventually 30 years apart. Many years later, in the first house that I bought, or no, sorry, we were renting actually when I came out as a professor at Stanford, an assistant professor, something in the bedroom as well, at the bottom of the bed. That actually was the first time that I ever heard anything inside of my head kind of like speak to me. It basically says, when I saw it, it just said, "Go to sleep." And that was it. I wasn't afraid, but I remember being frozen. It wasn't until actually I was a graduate student here at Stanford. I was in a used bookstore buying science fiction books, and I came across a book. There was two of them I came across. One was by John Mack, and the other was by Whitley Strieber. And I remember just seeing the cover and realizing that was the face that I had seen when I was a kid, looking through the window or in the bedroom. And the thing about the window was it was like 6 or 7 feet off the ground. So it wasn't like some short person. So whatever it was kind of like, if it was what it was, either something very tall or hovering. And it was, I remember just all the skin on my body, like all the hair stood on end when I saw it, and I dropped the book because it was like, how does this guy know what I saw?
Scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I've got a couple of family members that described seeing the same things and thought they were dreams and whatnot until they got older in probably the 70s or 80s. And they said, whoa, they never put two and two together. But now, you got people that start writing books and then it starts coming on TV. But when they told their stories about when that stuff wasn't around. So it's weird.
It's weird how little it's discussed.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Everyone else talking about UAP. So I also moderate on another sub called UAP Academic. And that one is only academic talk. You can only talk about that.
Yeah.
But we also have a UFOB experiencers, that's a new one we're setting up. I've been pushing to make it private. I don't know if it's gone private yet, but I feel like there should be a safe place where people can talk about that. That would even be more heavily moderated, maybe invite only, because there's people that try to chime in on the sub and then they get shot down, like, you're a nutcase and stuff. I'm like, let's hear what they got to say.
What was your experience?
I've seen lights. I've seen lights up close. I've seen lights afar, and I've been woken up by lights. That's about as much detail as I want to go into, but it was enough to scare me. There were witnesses in all three scenarios. There were witnesses. One from afar, there were people standing around, pulling off on the side of the road, looking and seeing things. And I pulled over and I said, "Oof. This is how people get abducted. I'm getting out of here." So I drove off. It was on a deserted county road back in late 90s. And then the other one was driving down the street in the evening. Sun had maybe just gone down. Sky was still light. Saw some stuff and had somebody in the car with me. And we pulled over, got out, looked at it. And it was the amber orb thing. It was 5 of them. And they were just kind of doing this, and they were blinking, and then they would just out like that, just zipped out like so fast it looked like they disappeared, but they shot off. And then the other one's a lot more personal. It was some light shining in the window, waking me up, and other people in the house the next day said the same thing. So I'll leave it at that. And I haven't gotten to the bottom of it. I don't know what it was, but it scared the shit out of me. Like I said, I've got a lot of experience with aircraft, and it was in an area where there wouldn't be anything. You could check radar.
How far were you talking about? Like miles away in the sky, or near where you were standing, or like how far away were these lights?
Lit up the house, woke everybody up.
Oh, lit up the house. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if a police helicopter went over and shined through the window, but wasn't a police helicopter. Years ago, I thought I had some answers, when people would bring up different parts of this topic. Say, oh, well, it's this, or these are those things doing that, or these are those craft doing that, or the government's doing this. I've formulated my own opinion that we don't know. We don't have a clue what's going on. because I see everything coming in on Reddit. You got to understand, Reddit's probably the biggest repository of information on UFOs on the internet, which makes it on the planet, right? I can't think of another site where there's more information pumping in daily. And I'm in the middle of it. So I see it all. And I've been seeing it for years. And we don't know. We have no clue. There's people that pop in all the time on the sub. They got these long dissertations of posts they make, like, oh, I know what it is. I got it figured out. I'm like, dude, I've seen this so many times. You don't know. You have no idea. We don't know. So I don't know, man. I just know that there's something and it's worth looking at. That's my motto. It's worth looking at.
Do you have a sense that this is a neutral thing, or this is a positive thing, or this is a negative thing, or maybe a mixture of those three? I'm talking about the beings themselves, not necessarily what our government's doing, but just.
I think it's all, and that's a big. I've talked about this on the subreddit before. A lot of people want to peg this thing as being one thing. It's these grays, and they're abducting us, and they're doing this, and that's, and they want to eat us or whatever. And then you got other people saying, no, there's these Nordics, and they want good to happen and stuff. And you get people who are like, oh, why are they Nordic? You must be racist. And it's like, whoa. Like, it's all of this stuff. It's at least three main things. And if it's more than that, it's at least coming with the three different things you mentioned: good, neutral, and bad. I think they've all got motives. And it's, I think that there's more than enough information out there, stories. I guess not information. We're going to get eaten up alive on Reddit. Like, oh, people are going to say, where's the proof? There's enough stories that they're working, that one race or species or something is working in cahoots with the government. And it only makes sense. If they're here, it just makes sense. And, they're going to go, oh, why is it always here? We've got all the nukes, man. Mm-hmm. We have the nukes, and we're the power. We're the global power here. So yeah, they might be in other places, but they tend to always be around the nukes.
I think that's one of the things about UFOB that draws me to that sub, is that the conversation gets much more nuanced there, and people are willing to go that extra step and go, okay, well, let's talk about the different angles that could be going on.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying it's all good, it's all bad. Well, let's look at this. Let's talk about Carla Turner. Let's talk about David Jacobs, and let's talk about John Mack, and let's talk about
true. Like it's going to change the face of everything, but I don't want to be on a radar.
Well, what do you mean by that? There's scary interactions. Like, what does that mean?
Like, do you remember last summer there was that crazy post that somebody made about they worked at a facility, and they were working on like alien parts and stuff, and it blew up. It went viral.
Alien parts? No. Like, you're talking about like parts of a ship or parts of an alien?
No, like body parts. He was talking about how the bodies work and stuff, and it was this huge long post. It was like the NHI post or something. And then the account went dark and got removed. And so everyone's like, oh my God, did Reddit delete it? Like, what happened? And it was like May or no, it was like maybe July last year. And went nuts. Rogan picked it up and posted about it. Well, I'm the one who helped the guy post it. He didn't know how to, he tried to post it several times, and I'm getting home from work. I sit down at my desk and get a notification on my phone. So I sit down on my personal computer and, and I'm looking at it, and the guy's like, hey, I'm having a hard time posting this. And I looked at him, like, I told him, I said, this is too long. I don't, and you're a new user. Like, it was a brand new account. I said, I don't think you're going to get any hits with this. Are you sure you want me to walk you through this? Cause it was getting time consuming. We tried several times. So the guy finally got it to post, and I forgot about it. And I came back after dinner and like checked, and it was like going bananas. It was huge. So then it went so bad. People were posting, they got the name of the facility where the guy worked, and were posting UFO and alien pictures on Google Maps as like photo reviews on Google Maps. And so many people hit it that when you Googled the facility, it was popping up aliens as the logo on Google Maps for the facility. It was insane.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah,
I don't know if I saw this and then promptly it just got like buried under I look at Reddit every day, and it's like a fire hose. There's just so much stuff. It's hard. What was the creepy part about it? Like,
He's saying that he worked at a facility where there were alien body parts or alien bodies that he had worked on, and that he was explaining how their bodies work differently. And a lot of the stuff was jiving with like the lore, and it was really interesting. It was a very long post. In fact, I didn't read it at first. It took me several hours before I finally broke down and read the whole thing, and it was pretty mind blowing. And there were experts chiming in the comments saying that, hey, this stuff is accurate. Then there was always somebody saying, no, it's not accurate. It's not how a biologist would word this. But then, so what was weird is the account went dark. So people were like, hey, did you guys remove it? I'm like, I didn't remove it. I approved it. I didn't remove it. And they were like, well, what's going on with the account? We can't see the account now, but the post is up. And I'm like, I don't know. And our whole team was on it. This is on r/alien. And we were looking at it, and we're trying to answer everybody. Like, what are you guys doing? They were accusing us. We're like, we did nothing. Like, we can't see. We're showing screenshots of what we can see on the back office for moderators. And, we're talking to each other, the moderators, and we're like, man, this is wild stuff. Like, do you think somebody came in and like shut it down and like deleted? Like, we don't have the ability to delete an account. The only one that could do that is Reddit admin, and we aren't Reddit admin. So it was just like, to see something like that play out, like some Men in Black type shit play out right before your eyes, was spooky. I've never seen an account do stuff like that. It was more than a shadow ban. People were like, oh, you shadow banned them. And it's like, they did away with shadow banning a while back. You could still do it, but it's not an option anymore in the options. But it was weird.
So what was the key? Was there one like key thing that he said about the way the bodies worked, or about the beings themselves that was setting people off? Like, what sent people into such a frenzy? Or I don't want to put you on the spot, but just curious.
I think he was talking about, I think you were talking about how they ate through, the old story, how they eat through their arms. They spread this stuff on their arms.
John Lear thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the smell, and that's what creates the smell, the sulfur. They talked about their religion, I believe. The religion was very close to Buddhism. There was something about the source, the source of one type of thing. Just little details like that really hit home. And then there was a lot of people that said that it was a hoax. There's a user that several months later, somebody posted something that seemed pretty damning. They said that this one user who's known to post a lot and do some screwy stuff on the subs, he's got a particular way of writing and some errors that he makes commonly, and they found a couple in the post. And so maybe it was him, but it was a wild ride.
That's what's so tough about it, because for one thing, I'm inclined to agree with you about the way Reddit works. It's cool to see, like, there's a place and you go there and there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people all talking
into
about
what you're
this. Into it. And not only that, but they like crowdsource and investigate. Teams just swarm around these ideas and they look into it, and you don't know who's got a PhD and who's got a master's degree in this and who's an engineer and who's a biologist. And suddenly, like, you're getting real feedback. It's amazing when it works. Did you watch any of the Soul Foundation videos that just got released? Have you made it over to those?
Just small clips. Yeah, but it's wonderful stuff. There's somebody in our group posted that somebody we know by 1 degree of separation was part of it or something. I don't know, but it's cool stuff.
There was a one speaker, the retired admiral, Gallaudet. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
So when I was a 1-star admiral working for U.S. Fleet Forces Command in Norfolk, a 4-star admiral command in charge of all the ships in the Navy that are training stateside, they were running an exercise in 2014 to 2015 where Ryan Graves was operating in. He was flying his F-18 Hornet, Super Hornet, off the USS Theodore Roosevelt. My job, I was the chief meteorologist of the Navy, and so all my weather guessers, meteorologists or aerographers, were on Navy ships like the USS Theodore Roosevelt forecasting weather. Very critical safety of flight mission. And during that time, I received an email on the Navy's secret network from my boss, the operations officer at Fleet Forces Command. He was a 2-star admiral. All the addies were 1- and 2-star admirals like me. I was in a support command. Others were operational, like strike group commanders, Theodore Roosevelt and others. And the topic of the email was urgent safety of flight issue. And the content of the email was fairly brief. It just said, if any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We're having numerous near midair collisions, and we're going to have to shut the exercise down if we don't stop. And attached was the Go Fast video that everyone's seen now. And this was and so a lot of my thought beforehand was crystallized in that I knew that was not our technology, because we, the U.S. government's research and development enterprise, does not test and evaluate in training ranges for the safety issues they were causing. So I knew immediately that was not ours. It wasn't our adversaries. I was pretty read into all of our adversaries' advanced technologies, and then I knew. And so I didn't say much, but the next day, my email was wiped from my computer and everybody else who received it. And then even worse, in terms of the reaction, I would go to weekly meetings with all the people who were at ease on that email with my boss and his operations officer, and no one ever talked about it.
It's 25 minutes long. It's totally worth a look. There's no question there's an information war going on. Like, that's clearly what's happening.
You know, one of the things we want to talk about was the bots, the Reddit bots. And we see that happen. We see certain posts hit, and I mean, we're all looking at each other like, what the hell is this? And you just see specific things hit, and then it's just boom, 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 and they light them up and they downvote them. The users don't downvote. They never do, because I always tell them, if you don't like something, like the whole Pod with Pat thing, I for months told people, if you don't like his content, downvote it, and then it'll go to the bottom and you won't see it. So the users don't downvote. When you see something getting downvoted into oblivion, it's bots. And when you see the second that someone posts something and it's just negativity, it's bots. It's and it's not us. It doesn't. You're touching on another thing is we don't get compensated for any of it. We're researchers. We love the topic. We don't get paid. We don't have side deals. There's no advertisements that hit or anything. It's what we do is no different from what you do with your show. We just have a platform where people come in and post content, and then we all get to talk about it. And my campfire story. Like, I get a campfire 24/7 where I get to talk about my favorite topic with people. And there are retired military people in there. There are retired agents in there. There's that one guy, Harry's Red Hot. He's a retired something high up. I don't know if he was special ops or something. He told me one time, and I forget what it was, but he's high up. He's not just some military guy. And he has amazing posts. But the only compensation that we get is being on the forefront of everything that comes out. We see it early. Sometimes we see it before it ever hits. All the big name people in ufology, I've talked to them at one point or not. I've had, Pope. I've had beers with him before at Contact in the Desert.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of other, I was just sitting at the lobby bar and I acted like I didn't know who he was. And he started talking. I asked him about his career, and we talked we had quite a few beers, and then tried not to starstruck him, and then bounced. It was pretty cool.
It's funny when you meet a UFO celebrity. Isn't that weird? It's like a whole different world of celebrity.
Yeah, it is. What's her name? Linda Moulton Howe. Met her a few times. Travis Walton. Met him a bunch of times.
What's Linda like?
She is this teeny tiny, awesome little lady. She's so happy. She's like excited every time someone wants to meet her. And I was like, Linda, I've been following you forever. She's so tiny. I kind of came up. I was like, I felt like I was scaring her. I was like, listen, I don't mean to freak you out. You're awesome. I love you. I've been listening to you since I was a little kid. It's a pleasure to meet you. I wanted to hug her. And I think she had some handlers with her, like, don't touch her,
Yeah.
All right. Passed her in the hallway at a conference. And then I saw her a few times afterward. Just, you bump into them.
Did you ever listen to Coast to Coast?
I grew up on it, man.
You grew up on Coast to Coast. So yeah.
That's like I said earlier, we're doing Clint to Clint AM.
Yeah, that's true. I was a Coast to Coast guy for so many years, and people who don't know, they really just don't know what they missed. It's so good.
Yeah, because it's not what it was. And even with Linda kind of went down a different path. I don't really follow her much anymore. But in the beginning, she was one of the pioneers, and Coast to Coast was amazing. And I don't listen to any of it anymore.
It's interesting how, like, back in the day, in the mid 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s, even the conversation was a lot different. It was about like crop circles, and in the 90s, abductions were like the thing. You couldn't turn on the TV without seeing something about abductions. It was just constant.
Yeah.
And John Mack was on TV all the time.
Reddit too.
crop circles. And I wonder, like, do you have an opinion on that? Do you ever see anything come through on that? It seems like that's been sidelined a lot.
I'm a wholehearted believer in them. I don't know that they're alien related. I don't know what they are, but I know damn well that they're real. There's always somebody that pops in and is like, oh, it's guys with boards. I'm like, dude, what you never hear about is the engineering teams that they've had go out and try to make one in the middle of the night, and they couldn't get it done for like less than 40 hours or something. It was insane. And they couldn't get it done within the margin of error that they're finding them made naturally. And then somebody just posted a crop circle article this week, and I cross-posted it over to r/crop circles because it's a newer sub that we're trying to gain some traction on, and just kind of, a lot of times we just want to get the focus over there. It's not like we're trying to build followers, but like crop circles is a topic that gets beat up. So we wanted a sub that is just that, so the believers can go there and talk about it. And it took off. They're still talking about it. I was getting hits today.
Was this a post about where they cut the grass and it grows back in the shape of a crop circle? Yeah. And it's like just the cellular structure of the plants is now just forever changed by that.
So what happens is the science behind it. I mean, we don't know 100% what's happening, but the soil, the plants are getting irradiated somehow. And there was a scientist that went out and was studying it, and he found that the seeds would actually grow and produce whatever they were faster. And he ended up patenting it. So he was like microwaving seeds and then selling them to farmers, and they were producing faster than regular seeds. He patented it. And so it's a real thing. It's happening. Wow. But they found, if you dig really deep, there's some studies about the soil, the rock underneath, the water, how it passes through some of those areas and what it does. And it creates all kinds of weird anomalies. So it could be anything. The most interesting thing to me is the patterns. If they're always, they're two-dimensional. And I've seen some simulations where they'll take a three-dimensional object and pass it through, and the mark it leaves two-dimensionally is what you see on the crop circles.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's
but
really
the ones that really get me is where they have messages encoded in them, and then they match weather patterns, or they match sunspot patterns, and some of them have predicted major sunspots that were going to create big solar flares. Like there's a lot to it that never gets out there, but I just don't have the bandwidth. But I'm happy that there's a place to talk about it now.
There was the big one that jumps to mind is the one with binary. I don't
know if it's real or not. I heard some stuff recently that it was a ad or something, or that somebody was paid to make it or something. I don't know. After all these years, it's just now coming out. I'm not sure, and it's pretty spot on.
Do you think that changes because where we're at right now with AI and the way that it's so easy to fake things? I'm already seeing tons of fake stuff, like just especially actually on aliens and UFOs. You see fake things get upvoted. It's almost a joke. It's like somebody will fake the fakest looking AI thing that they can generate, and they'll throw it up there and be like, "Oh, here's an alien," and it gets upvoted 1,800 times.
There's something you have to factor in with Reddit too. It's the user base is all ages, and you got a lot of young kids on there. You've got a lot of people that are new to the topic. You got a lot of people that are just passing through, and that's where you're going to get a lot of activity. And there's some filters built into Reddit that help with that, like brand new accounts or low karma accounts. It's called the crowd filter, and it'll bump those out. We get accused a lot. People hit us up in the mod mail and they're pissed off. Hey man, why'd you remove my thing? You're trying to like hide the secret. It's like, no man, it's a built-in feature. Your account's a day old. Like if we let everybody with a day old account come in, that's how they brigade subreddits and posts and things.
I got lit up by a guy with a 15-day-old account and one karma just before we started this interview. How do you fight back? You can't. You just, what do? You want to spend all night engaging with nobodies online, and how much of your time do you want to devote to it? And I think that's part of the whole plan. I mean, it seems to me like it's really simple, right? Like they just distract, demoralize, downvote, and try to get you to just give up on the whole enterprise.
I just can't fathom walking into another conversation and just telling people the shit that we hear on there. like you said, demoralize them. You're stupid. This isn't real. Like, why? And when I get called out in there a lot for, being an agent or something, I'm like, go through my post history, go through my comment history. I'm backing everybody up all the time. I'm sticking up for people. I stick up for you all the time. I ban the shit out of people that mess with you. I ban the shit out of people mess with vetted. With Pat, man, it was like for months, it was either you or him. Somebody came in and said something, and you're like, why is he allowed to post this stuff? And they went off, and I said, where's your content? Like when you start making content and you got a bunch of karma, like go ahead. But for now, like this guy's putting a lot of work into this. So
the thing with Patrick is he's doing his thing, right? He's out there doing the work. This guy is at it. He works a 24-hour cycle. The moment you see a vetted video go up, he's already moving on to the next one and he's working on it. If you go to YouTube and you look at his channel there, it's growing really fast and he's got a great community and he's got a ton of followers and they're very positive and they've been great. And when I interviewed him, I interacted with a lot of his people and they were excellent. Outstanding. You come over to Reddit and it's like a completely different world. And the way that people light him up, I get it. He uses some thumbnails that might be considered a little bit sensationalist, but let's be honest, like that's how YouTube works. And if you want to build a channel, you got to play the game.
I watched a lot of his shows and I thought the content was great because he was digging into it. In the spirit of what UFOB does, he was digging into it and some of it was controversial and he was saying things that needed to be said. But, some of those posts the titles were saying things that were completely contrary to what was in the video. And the complaints were getting out of control. And he first came on the radar in December. I looked back and saw like the first time that he and I spoke just in the chat. And I had no idea who he was. In fact, I'd seen some of the videos and you had just come on the radar and I'd reached out to you. I was like, I really like what you're doing. I had high hopes for your show. And then all of a sudden he pops up and throughout my day and I'm scanning through, all I see is two guys with long hair doing UFO podcasts. And I was like, man, is that the guy that I just talked to that had the same name as me? I was like, wow, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I reached out to him and I realized it was somebody different. And I said, hey, look, I'm going to make you an approved user so you can get past all of the filters and everything and get your stuff in there. And it'll help you out. And I'll let my team know. But it was complaint after complaint. And my team didn't have the dialogue with him that I had. So I had to go in and tell them like, hey, look, his content's pretty good. I actually like it. Like, let's overlook the complaints. Because I said, if you look at the votes, he's getting more upvotes than downvotes. And unfortunately, it doesn't show you how many downvotes you get. It only shows upvotes. Somebody asked that question on the post that you made. And I'm like, we have nothing. I can't even see them. So, but I know it outweighs them. It outweighs them. It's a scale. So if it's -5 and all of a sudden you get 10, boom, it's at +5. So that's all you know.
Well, if it hits 0, it just stops at 0. They can keep downvoting, but you just stop at 0, right?
No, it'll show you down. It shows you the negatives.
Oh, because a lot of them I see just go to 0 and then it just stops.
Some I've seen that too. Some do. There are some posts where that you can't even vote. I don't know why or how they do that.
But when I see stuff on Reddit that I don't like or I don't agree with, I just don't engage with it. I'm not like out there trying to like hate on people. I made a rule.
I made a rule on UFOB. It's contributor pass because and it's fairly new because I was just so fed up with these trolls coming through. And I was like, you know what? I reached out to the team and said, I got an idea. I'm going to draft it up, run it by you guys. If you approve it, I'm going to make it live. And it's contributor pass. And it was just based on the idea, like, you don't like it, fucking move on, man. Like, we don't need to hear from you shit talking on a conversation that everybody's having. Just go.
I think that's why you're getting targeted even more. I think that's what's going on with UFOB right now. Because I saw it at aliens first. I saw it at UFOs. Like, I would post something. I'd post a 15, 20-minute video. 10 seconds after I post it, it's downvoted to 0. And I've got 30 negative comments and people are just lighting me up. And they're like, this is all wrong. It's all bullshit. And you have to go, well, you don't even know what you couldn't have watched it. How would you know? And so then I check the usernames and I'm clicking at each one 30 days old, 50 days old. And so I saw it on UFOs and I saw it on aliens. And then I came over and I spend more time in UFOB just because it's a healthier environment. I think it's just a better space just in general. but I've noticed it there too recently. In fact, just as much today as any other time in the last couple of weeks.
It goes in waves. We've seen it come in waves. We notice it too.
You do see it?
We don't have control. Oh yeah, we see it. We notice it because we're watching all day. We see the posts come through. We have to approve things. Sometimes we have to approve things manually if it's a person with low karma. Because the karma limit, this is how it works. There's a crowd control feature, and it's for safety. You have to have 1,000 karma, either post karma or comment karma collectively. It has to be 1,000. Mm-hmm. And the account has to be, I forget how many days old, but it can't be a day old, can't be a few days old. Maybe it's 30 days, I forget. If it's not, I can set it to 30 days. If you're seeing a lot of them that are right at 30 days, I can set it at 45 days. I'll check it out after the show and see what it is. And that was part of the reason I agreed to come on and do this was I want people to see that we're here doing this. We're with you guys. Like nobody came down and bestowed this Reddit power on me. I was in the right place, right time with a group of like-minded guys. And we found that we could set this up, and we set it up in a way that we felt needed to be done so that the discussions could go further. And that's what we do, man. And I take it upon myself to really manage the subreddit and crack down on the trolls and the bullies. If you're in there bullying people, man, you can see that in my comment history, I go through and I'm not an asshole to people, but I let them know, like, you're not going to do this here. Like, leave. This past week, I wrote to several people, then leave. You should leave. You should leave right now. That was why after that show that you did where he was on and he was like, hey man, they're trying to control my YouTube channel. I was like, I got a message Sunday that it happened overnight. And I got a message late Sunday morning from one of the moderators. And I looked at it, I'm like, come on, man. Like we're not trying to control anybody's. That conversation, that was why I said, hey, I saw your video. I'm down to jump on and I will come in. I will screen share the back office and show you everything you want to see, what we do, what we have access to, because it's not what everybody thinks. It's not this big conspiracy. And we definitely were not trying to control YouTube. We wanted the titles to not be misleading because we do have a rule in there for no misleading information. And it didn't just happen on ours. He was banned on our UFOs and our aliens a couple weeks prior for the same exact situations. And there was a discussion from what I was told, because we have moderators that overlap. Mm. Like I'm on our aliens and our UFOB and a few others, but I'm not on our UFOs. But we've got guys on our aliens that are on our UFOs. So I reached out and said, what happened over there? And they said it got heated and the conversation ended quickly. And after repeated offenses, we had to let him go. And it was the identical scenario with us. And I don't take any of it personal because I see so much. I'm numb now, and we get users that come in and they call us names and, you guys are a bunch of agents and you're controlling all this and, F off. And I got one today that was, just outrageous. We got called every name in the book. And the guy was mad at us because I removed his comment and then I banned him because he called somebody the F word, So,
are you familiar with
word? Not fuck you. It was the slur, and I'm like, you're not going to come in here and call people that, man. Like,
you have to police it, because that's what makes it work. Like that's what makes the good people want to be there. Is the fact that there's a bouncer at the door keeping the riffraff out, and I think that's why it's so important. A bouncer. It's so important that you do this, and I think that actually the way that you fight back is doing this. Like just put a face to the screen name and like show people that you're a real human being and that this is something that's important to you and it matters to you. And that's why that you do this. It's why you put the time in when you don't get paid. I'm a full-time career.
I'm a real person. I got a regular job. I got a side hustle company that I own. I got, I go out with my friends on the weekends and, I've got a girlfriend I spend time with and, I'm a normal person. I don't work for the government. I've never worked for the government. So I don't have an agenda. I don't get paid for this. I've had friends that say, man, there's that many people on those subreddits. Like, how do you monetize that? I'm like, it's a kiss of death. You cannot monetize Reddit. It's a bad idea. It's like having your favorite hobby and being, meeting all the biggest players and whatever your favorite hobby is. It's pretty awesome.
It does. It must feel crazy. I mean, from where you're at, you can see it much more, but I look at the whole space and it's just going like hypersonic right now. Isn't it wild to watch this thing go fully mainstream?
Yeah, it is. I remember meeting, oh man, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank here. We're talking about so many things. Lou Elizondo. I remember meeting him at a conference before he ever even was a person. So I was like, who's that guy? And then somebody was like, oh, he worked for the government and knows a bunch of stuff. He's going to come out. And then meeting like Richard Dolan when he was first doing just talks at conferences, and he was, he wasn't really well known. And I saw him so many times, I kind of was like bored with him. And now he's like the god of ufology. Like, I think Dolan he's the man. He's doing it the way it should be done. And he has that approach similar to mine. Like, look, whatever you think it is, you don't know. He said, the one thing I've learned is that this topic is so bizarre and so encompassing that you don't throw anything out. We don't know what it is. There's tons going on, and it's not just one thing.
Have you guys ever tried to get him on the UFOB YouTube?
I don't know. The other guys handle that, so I haven't been involved in that. I'd like to get more involved maybe later this year, but this past year was a little hectic just work-wise. I didn't have a lot of time for it. Mm-hmm. The moderating stuff I've got down to a science, so I can handle that I try to take that load off of them while they're doing that stuff. So me and Lambo Eric, and they're going at it.
Fighting a good fight.
Fighting a good fight. At UFOB, we've kept the founders group tight and in control. I don't think that'll ever change. We've got some long-term moderators that we trust. It's been discussed bringing more on in the past, but we've held off because we've been able to handle it. And at the end of the day, it's just just a bunch of people talking on the internet. So if something gets missed for a day, what's the big deal? Mm-hmm. We're in there trying to keep people from calling each other names and creating just verbal harm most of the time, but let them talk about whatever they want. But so we keep that tight. And we're growing pretty quickly. In fact, our engagement, I was telling you earlier, our engagement on UFOB is higher than all the other subs. And I think it's because of the way that we do things and the conversations that we have. If you take the online users divided by the total subscribers, we're always at least double the large subs. And our UFOs is the biggest one. They're at like 2.2 million. Our aliens is the next, and then I think it's either us or there might be another one. Aliens and UFOs might be bigger. I forget, but our engagement ratio is through the roof. I don't know that I've ever run the number. I run the numbers every couple of weeks, and I ran them right before we came on just to back what I'm saying, and we're still number one.
How many new people are you seeing come in like in a day? I mean, is it thousands of people coming in?
It's usually about maybe about 1,000 a week.
Okay.
It speeds up, it dies off a little. Sometimes it might be close to 1,000. Sometimes you'll get just over 1,000, but it's about 1,000-ish a week, 5 to 7, 10 days.
Would you guys ever consider making this might be a little extreme, but making the requirements a little bit more strict, like really strict? Like, you got to have an account that's at least 2 years old. You got to have at least 10,000 karma. Like, you can't just be dropping in here.
We've tried that across the board, even in the other subs. And what happens is you get people that are getting interested in the topic that are scientists, and they want to come in and they want to talk and share information, or they used to work somewhere and they want to share some information and they can't. And what happens is we have these we have this auto mod filter. It's a bot that Reddit supplies to the moderators, and it looks for stuff like that: the age of the account, how much karma, are they creating trouble in other subs, are they using trigger words that look out of place or are just bad words, and it filters those out. And so what happens is when we make that requirement too high, we get inundated we have an inbox. The moderators have a giant inbox that we have to sort through and manually approve the ones that get held back. So if you get caught up in that mod filter, we have to go through and manually approve, and it's thousands a day. It's insane.
So it becomes unmanageable.
it's unmanageable until they've been building the tools out and they're polishing them. I've noticed that since the big protest happened last year. These, the big corporate changes they were talking about, they're actually doing that stuff. So there's new things happening that make it a little easier for us. But right now there isn't a way to make that, to sort through it. So if I make the restrictions tighter, I end up with 10 times the amount, because the amount of accounts that are 45, 60 days, 90 days old that never engage is astronomical compared to just the new less than 30-day accounts.
So what would you say, like the average user on Reddit and UFOB, let's just keep it to UFOB, the average person who is there participating, maybe they occasionally post some things, but they're mainly there just to kind of like read and follow what's going on. Like, what can they do to help police the sub and make sure that everything is on the up and up? Is there something that they could do individually?
Yeah, so we have people that repeatedly post fantastic content. I mentioned one earlier, Harry is White Hot. The guy's awesome. We got one guy, it goes by like AAA Trader or something like that. He's always active in there. We make those people approved users, and we reach out and we tell them, hey, if you see anything that's bad or bad actors in the sub, flag it. There's a feature where you can click the menu next to a comment, a post, or a user, and you can flag it. And it notifies us. In fact, that's usually what I go off of. So if something and we have, you can set it where like if it's flagged 3 times, it's automatically removed. Mm-hmm. Or you can have it where if it has to be flagged at least twice before it notifies a moderator. So we have things like that. When I see something's flagged, I take a look at it. And there's people that are, they're extra sensitive and they flag things that don't need to be flagged. And I approve whatever it is, or I remove it. I noticed with your stuff, you were coming in out of when you first started. That was why I reached out to you, because I was like, this guy's asking questions that we're all thinking, at least the people in that subreddit, and you're talking about them like you were bringing up current events from that week, and it was like I was thinking the same thing, and now this guy's talking about it, and then you got a couple of big name interviews on it. I was like, hell yes, like that's awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to get some more big name interviews, so hopefully maybe this will help, and we'll see if that pans out. That'd be great. And I'd love to talk to the guys over at the YouTube channel as well. I think it'd be great to engage a little bit more and just have these conversations. I think as people see it, that makes them feel like you're invested, and they know they can put a face with the name, and they understand that this is a real person. And there's
that's what I wanted to do. That was the goal with this, man, was, there's a lot of misconceptions and conspiracies about Reddit moderators and what's going on. And we're normal people. We're here doing the work so that, you can come in and do this and have the conversations. We're getting paid by being on the forefront of it and getting to see everything first. That's rewarding enough for me. And I wanted it to be transparent. I want you guys to realize, like, we're not controlling anything, not hiding things. I literally just get rid of the bullies and the trolls. That's it. Everything else flies. If the proof is in the pudding. You go through my comment history, through my post history. All I'm doing is telling people, chill out, behave, be cool. That's it, man.
As we go forward into 2024, do you see any trends that are on your radar? Do you have any expectations for what might happen in the space this year? What are you looking forward to?
You asked me that before I came on to have something ready, and I'm sticking to my guns. I don't know. I think it's going to continue to heat up. I think we're going to see more from Congress. I hope to see more from Grush come out. But the one thing I've learned with this is we never know, man. There's always some kind of curveball. But what I think is it's going to continue to heat up. I think it's going to continue to heat up for a few years until something breaks. Now that I think that there's something planned and there's a set date, but I think that that's going to happen just by default. Like, it's just someone's going to crack. Like, I keep hearing about these whistleblowers. There's like 30 more whistleblowers are going to come out. Corbell was talking about them. And, everybody's got this opinion about Corbell, but I'll tell you what, man, he wasn't my favorite, but he's doing the work. The stuff he's coming out with, we wouldn't know about unless he did it. Like,
the more work you do, the bigger your beard gets. That's how you can look at all of us and tell like which guys are doing the work. You see the facial hair. It's clear.
The people in the sub that shit talk him, like, he's annoying and abrasive, but like, he's doing the work. You would never have this information if it wasn't for him, because nobody else is getting out there and doing it. He even talks about, he's like, he makes money off of his little appearances and stuff, but like, he's going out on his own dime and showing up places, and he's meeting with people and he's filming things. Like, I don't have the time to do that. Maybe when I'm retired, it'd be awesome. But all I can do right now is be a talking head with you, and we just speculate, you know?
Whatever happens, I'm sure we'll find out about it in UFOB, and that's where I'm going to be. Clint, thank you so much. It's weird to say my name and be talking to you.
I know, man. It's so weird.
Two Clints, one podcast. Thanks for doing this, man. I really do appreciate it. This was awesome. I'm so glad we got to hook this up, and thank you for reaching out to me and just for the support and for creating a good place for people to go and actually do this kind of thing. It's important, and it means a lot.
Let's keep in touch. I'm down to do it again in the future for things that pop up. So for sure.